always ask me, where did it start? Where did this Mustang obsession start? And I always give the same answer. Pretty sure it was a car in a previous life. I even have pictures of me when I'm 1, 2 years old, kind of playing with my Hot Wheels on that car carpet. But I think it probably would have been a lot of the movies that I watched. So things like Bullet. You know, it was one of the first times you really saw this amazing car chase scene, and I mean, that was a Mustang. Or even later on in, you know, the remake of Gone in 60 Seconds, it was one of the first times that you saw an actor really have a relationship with the car and kind of humanize the car and talk to the car. And I remember that's how I used to be when I was younger, kind of talking to my cars and they would talk back, but not really. Even if you look at the original Gone in 60 Second movie, that was the first time that a car literally got a starring role. In the credits, you see the word Eleanor on it. And again, humanizing the car, and really Mustang was the one that started it. And I think for me, I related to that car the most because of that. So when it came to finding specs for my ideal Mustang, I knew that it had to be a fastback and it had to be a manual transmission, because for me personally, I think the best driving experience is a car that has a manual transmission. Who doesn't want to roll the gears? I mean, there's nothing quite like it. So it had to be a manual, it had to be a fastback. And for me, I am a purist at heart, so it had to be original as possible, matching numbers, because that's really important for me. It's not just about the condition of the car, the specs of the car. She drove roads from 1967. She experienced all the seasons from 1967, and from 68, and from 72, and from 84. Like, she has every single moment of history literally embedded in her paint. And I know that sounds very weird, but there's a story there. When I go to car shows and the car is parked, there's a lot of people that come up to her. I mean, she's pretty damn sexy, I do have to admit. But yeah, a lot of people come up to her and they'll ask, okay, tell me about the car. You know, she's a 67, she's a matching numbers, original engine, transmission, you know, original body, original interior. And then I get to the point where I say original paint. And they're like, no, that's not possible. So I reached out to the gentleman who owned the Raven before me, and I asked him, I said, did you have this problem too, where people would just not believe you that the car had original paint? He's like, all the time. Her name is Raven. And I named her Raven because her paint is actually called Raven Black. She is a 1967 Metuchen manufactured fastback GT with a 4-speed top loader, manual transmission, and with a beautiful 390 cubic inch S-code engine lying underneath the hood. So I started the Mustang Marie brand in 2015. The point of the whole Mustang Marie brand was to basically talk about something I love more than life itself. It's really funny because I preach about how much I love this car, but I had actually never driven a Mustang before. And it's not because I didn't want to, because let's face it, of course I wanted to. And I had many opportunities to drive Mustangs, old Mustangs and new Mustangs. But for me, I wanted the first experience behind the wheel of a Mustang to be something I could call my own. You know, have the keys in my hand. People reach out to me before I got a classic Mustang, and they said, I don't know if you're really gonna like the driving experience. You know, if you don't have power brakes or don't have power steering, that's gonna be kind of difficult for you. So she does have power brakes, she doesn't have power steering, so I'm hoping to get some muscles by the end of the driving season. But you know what, it was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. The clutch isn't heavy, it's super easy to shift. I love driving this car. And it took some kind of getting used to because, again, never driven a classic car before, so there were certain things I kind of had to change from my normal driving behavior. But she drives like a dream. Every time I go to a stoplight or a stop sign, you gotta rev the engine because it just sounds so good. When I started Mustang Marie, I obviously needed to establish myself and to be reputable. Being a woman in the automotive industry is always really tough, so you kind of have to go the extra mile to prove to people that you know what you're talking about. So for me, not only do I have a pretty well-versed understanding of the history of Mustang, but I also kind of got into this whole VIN decoding kind of thing. And for me, the VIN and data plate is really the birth certificate for the car. It tells you everything you need to know. So I decided to take it upon myself to memorize VINs from 64 to 73. So I can tell you everything about a VIN based off numbers and letters because at the end of the day, I am a nerd. One day, I was kind of just cleaning the car and I was trying to vacuum underneath the seats, and I go to the passenger side and I'm looking underneath the seats, and all of a sudden I find these two really small pieces of paper, and they are actually tickets to the Cumberland Drive-In Theater. It's in Newville, Pennsylvania. And each ticket was $1.50. So I thought that was super crazy. I actually reached out to the Cumberland Drive-In Theater. I said, can you tell me roughly what year the price would have been $1.50? And they said it probably would have started in the late 60s and it would have been that price for about 10 years. People ask, you know, what are your plans for the car? Are you planning to resto-mod it? Are you planning to restore it? And at the end of the day, Raven is a survivor GT. She is completely unrestored, and I want to keep it that way. In terms of driving the car, you know, a lot of people always ask me, is she going to be a garage queen? Is she going to be a trailer queen? And at the end of the day, cars are meant to be driven. Whenever I can take her out, that's what I'm going to do. I want to try to be able to enjoy this car. Raven doesn't like being parked. She's always looking at me with those big eyes like, can you please just drive me? For me, when I get behind the wheel, I'm not just getting behind the wheel of a Mustang, I'm getting behind the wheel of history. And the fact that there was another owner as well, anytime I'm driving the car, I can feel that presence. And I know that this car had a life before me, and it just continues to add to the story. And I hope that I'm able to give her the life that I feel like I'm gonna cry. But I hope I can give her the life that she deserves as well, and continue that story.